We are watching history. We are so fortunate to have the first black woman elected as vice president of Colombia. I mean, I was backstage in awe of what is happening. I'm often on MSNBC and CNN talking about the history made in the United States with the first black woman in the vice president's position, who I believe was here last year having a fireside chat. And so to have one of the only other black women to achieve this in the Americas, there have only been three, is truly historic, and you all you've been here for a treat. So how are we feeling? Y'all feeling good? How y'all feeling? Look, my daddy's a pastor. I'm from the South, so we do call and response. I just want to make sure y'all are good. I know y'all were out last night at club quarantine till like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, but we got to get some work done, all right? So I'm super excited for our next panel, Reconstructing the Tools for Building Wealth, with the dynamic voices and leaders in this space. We have Robert Smith, founder and chairman and CEO of Vista Equity Partners. We also have Richelieu Dennis, who we know for a lot of wonderful things, founder and chairman of Sundial Group of Companies. And our moderator, Melissa Bradley, founder and managing partner of 1863 Ventures. Please welcome them to the stage.
How we doing? She just said call and response. Let's try it again. How y'all doing? Okay, we're about to talk about some wealth, so you need to be a little bit more excited than that. So this right here is going to be an interesting conversation with me in the middle of these very two prominent men. But we want to talk about wealth and what do we need to do to deconstruct the barriers that exist. But let's just level set, because when I talk about wealth, and then you talk about wealth, and you talk about wealth, those are very different things. Just saying, there are levels. There are levels. So I would love it if each of you could define quickly, what does wealth mean to you? And Robert, we're going to start with you.
It's simple. It's actually freedom of time and energy and the ability to bring your intentions into actions that make sense for you. That's wealth. There's elements that create that enablement. Some of it's a mindset, believe it or not. And also it is building the skills and what I'll call the habits that enable you to take that mindset and to manifest it into the reality of your life. That's wealth to me.
That freedom of time helps when you have a driver, your private plane, the bank that comes to you. That helps.
Well, it depends. So, in the business that I am in, that's required. I have global investors. And so there's a mobility element that is essential. If you are running a business that doesn't require that mobility element, then none of that is necessary, right? So it's really a function of, in many cases, what is it that you're interested in? What is it that you can bring a unique perspective, a unique set of skills to actually create that wealth? And then enabling that to propagate and be sustainable. I think that's the challenge. And a lot of people think, oh, well, I get to go fly on a private plane. Well, if you have no business in that place, it's an expense, as opposed to you're going to that place to actually create value for yourself or any of the stakeholders that you are with. And so that's how I think about it. I know many wealthy people who don't travel at all because the domain of where of the work that they do is in one place, and it may be managing a business or it may be managing some enterprise. It doesn't require them to have the mobility, right? So, I mean, it's all a function of what it is that you enjoy, and I say enjoy, but the things that are actually creating that wealth for you and creating that freedom and that freedom of opportunity.
So basically associate with your ROI.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
What does wealth mean to you?
I mean, I think I would echo, like you said, there's levels to this thing. Yeah. So, Robert's wealth and my wealth are, there's a level to it. I do business globally, but, I use Delta. I would echo what Robert said. If I were to add anything, it is having the opportunity to change the things that you want to change. All right. I think that's the only piece that I would add to it, to be able to say, hey, I don't like how that is functioning, and I want to change that, and so I'm going to invest in driving that change. So that's the only thing I would add to it, which is basically what he was saying anyway.
No, I agree with that. I think that's an important part of it. You know, Rich and I have built a wonderful friendship, and a lot of it is not just based on the mutual respect that we have for each other, but in embracing ideology that we both believe advances communities that we care about. You know, that the point he raised, you know, I have these 3 dad's rules, and the first one is you are enough. And it comes to that. It is you are enough to change your own condition and the community that you care about. And I think that's one of the most important things to not only identify, but to personify as a person, because that requires a tremendous amount of confidence in oneself. On the one hand, not an arrogance, but a confidence that I can build the skills, the capabilities, the relationships, garner the resources to make the changes to my life, and then make the changes to the communities that I care about. And that is true wealth, because as you are able to do that, there's a wonderful expression that you will feel about your capability, and that gives you the ability to even do more. And I think that's an important point to think about. You know, we go to these summits and meetings, and, you know, I'm always excited to meet these young entrepreneurs who have the confidence, and you can see that they're building, you know, the relationships, and some of them don't have all the skills, but they're trying to figure out what skills do they need. But one of the most important skills is the confidence in themselves to actually know they have the ability to change their condition and to succeed. That is a critical part of that narrative that we must support and drive forward.
So I want to ask both of you, I love that we have defined wealth as a mindset, but in this country, there's a lot of friction, particularly coming against black people. So what is your advice, both of you, in terms of maintaining that mindset in light of what we heard, excuse me, the first panel, all the lawsuits, the litigation? There is a lot of friction, and particularly as we look to the end of the year, that says we do not want black people to get ahead. So what do you say to them? Because I can have the best mindset, but if the bank doesn't give me any money, the venture capitalist says no, then what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, but that's not new, right?
No.
Right.
All right. I mean, it's stay focused, folks. Right? It's not new. Whatever it is that the challenges are that we are facing today, that we will face tomorrow, that we faced yesterday, pales in comparison to the people that did this before we got here. All right? And so for me, my thought about it is that this is just yet another challenge. And I actually put it in the perspective of business opportunities, right? So if you look at it and you see all that's changing, you'll be like, yeah, you know, this is getting harder, this is getting harder, this is getting harder. I look at it from the perspective, okay, what opportunities does this open up for me to do some of the things that I've wanted to do or that I think I can do, or how do I serve this customer better, or how do I drive this opportunity differently? So I think it's not the walk in the park that we thought it was going to be after George Floyd, because everybody all of a sudden had a conscience. It's probably worse now because that conscience is no longer there, right? The guilt has been released. Now it's just time for us to do the work and keep working. I don't mean to sound callous about it, but that's what it's going to take. And getting back to this idea of wealth is by creating wealth, is that you're able to make the change in your community that helps people in your community get through these times and give them the hope to keep building and going. So I see opportunity coming.
Yeah, to Rich's point, it hasn't changed. The tools that they use are different. I came here this morning with some very dear friends of mine, my cousin being one of them. And when I think about why we are 4th generation in Colorado, is because they bombed our businesses in Oklahoma. And the Vaden Pool Hall, my cousin Wayne Vaden, there's a plaque on the ground where they bombed and destroyed our whole community. We got another cousin, they had one of the general stores. So yeah, it hasn't changed. The weapons have changed, they're different, but we have been under assault for over 400 years in this country. But yet we sit here today. And yet we thrive. And yet we figure out a way. And yet we figure out a way to help each other. And yet we figure out ways to create economic enablement for our businesses and for our community. So, yeah, you may go to the bank and they deny you, which is why we are digitizing the CDFIs and just got a Bank of America to give us a $120 million loan guarantee so we can support the loans in these 6 cities, New Orleans being one of them. And it is important that you use the platform you have access to. I just have access to a technology platform that enables banks and CDFIs and MDI. So guess what we're going to do, okay? We're going to make sure that that happens. We need community partners. I know the Kellogg Foundation is here, and LaJune is here. She's one of our partners with this. It is important that we bond together in areas that we can enable ourselves to be enough to change our communities in ways that our condition improves. And we have the ability to fund businesses and consumer businesses and things that Rich and his fund do that enable hundreds and then thousands of African American businesses to now understand not only what it takes to survive, but to bring capital to those companies and wherewithal and environments like this fest where they can actually feature their products and learn from each other about how to become more successful. We are the most resilient people on this planet. And we have the ability to continue to change our condition, and we just have to continue to understand there is always going to be forces against us. And so we just have to be stronger than those forces. It's as simple as that.
So I'm going to ask you a follow-up to that, and then I'm going to come to Rich. Well, for those out here who are corporations, et cetera, right, what they are saying publicly has begun to change. What is the business case that you would say to them of why it's important now not to retract any of the efforts?
Here's the thing, and I have the great advantage of sitting on the board of the Business Roundtables. These are the largest corporations in America. What's interesting is the vast majority are understanding a few basic facts. One is diversity lowers risk, increases profits, increases growth. They also understand the demographic shift that has been occurring in this country over the last 400 years that has changed the purchasing patterns, the behaviors, and what actually will make companies grow, be successful, thrive, and ultimately survive. And so they have figured out, well, guess what? There may be some elements out there that are fighting against us. We have to figure out ways to drive more inclusion into our businesses because it's going to make our businesses healthier. Not all of them are going to stand up and get shot at by these folks who are going after them, but you see them making the adjustments in the right ways, I think, in most cases, to continue to drive these efforts forward. But you all have to demand that happen. The media has to demand that happen. The consumers have to demand that happens. And I will tell you, they will respond because what they are focused on is revenues and profits, okay? Now, you start dampening their revenues, like, hang on, we're going to have to change some of this because y'all ain't going to their store anymore, not buying their goods, and you tell them the reason is, and they'll say, guess what, we're changing this back. Or we will figure out a way to make inclusive infrastructure to support the growth and development of those businesses, which is what capitalism is all about. The advantage we have in this country almost over any country in the world is we are the most diverse country. And as a result of that, we should be able to have the smartest people, the most diverse and creative ideas flowing into our business ecosystems every single day. We need to make sure that we are enabled to participate in them. And that is part of the task of everyone in this room and our corporate partners to make sure that continues to happen.
There's a phrase that says, if I see it, I can be it. You have dedicated yourself and your wealth to make sure we can see it. Why is that important And what is that going to look like 3 to 5 years from now when we are the majority?
I mean, it's, for me, it was the most powerful learning tool, right? Like just coming up. If I saw something, if I had proximity to something, it enabled me to figure out how to do it, right? And if it was somebody black doing it, it gave me somebody to ask about it. If it was somebody white doing it, it gave me the courage to have somebody to ask about it. But the curiosity was always there. But if I don't see it, I can't be curious about it, right? And that to me is the from my perspective, the key to it is being able to see it. But, and I'm going to divert on the question to say, we've got 20, 30 years left to do this. We've got to be focused on our kids doing it. And the number one thing I can encourage you to teach your kids is curiosity. The number one thing, because what that allows them to do is to think about how to figure things out, to constantly be figuring it out. And so being able to show driving curiosity around what I'm seeing and how I can do it and how I can learn it, I think are extremely important, which is why I spend so much time teaching and showing and being accessible. And it's, at times it's inconvenient and it's hard, right? So, but at the end of the day, I think there's great value that gets created from doing that. We had the good fortune, we had a few minutes this morning to walk the convention center floor. And if any of you here have time, not if you have time, make time, go to the convention center floor, make sure you buy something from one of those small black businesses that are in there, even if it's $10 that you spend, all right? Because what you're seeing in there is an ecosystem of black businesses that are now starting to support each other, and they're now starting to develop each other, and that are learning from each other, and they're seeing how this one is developing, how this one is developing, and from that floor have come brands like Mayel and Honey Pot, and Shea Moisture was out on the sidewalk in the parking lot for 15 years before it ever got inside, right? So being able to go inside there and see what's happening, and those folks that are in there learning from each other and developing each other, and you'll see, I promise you, there'll be $2 or $3 billion businesses that will come out of that convention center. And that's how we're going to change our dilemmas today and our economic conditions in our communities, is by taking businesses from our communities, focusing on them, investing in them, developing them, and giving them the opportunities to be successful.
When you think about the future, not just young people, but what is it, if for those out here, let's take away from professional but personal, what are 2 to 3 things that we should be thinking about as a people as we think about the next few years to help build wealth, not just for ourselves, but for the community?
Great question. And I will echo in answering that question what Rich just said, this idea of curiosity. I told you I've got my dad's rules. The first one, of course, is you are enough. And the second is discover the joy of figuring things out. And not only do I tell my children, but the foster children that we work with and take care of, is I want
Looking
them.
for any more foster children?
Got some hands up in the audience. The importance of not only being curious, but to figure out challenging problems. Again, there is a joy in solving problems. There is a joy. I will tell you, no matter at what level of wealth you have in your mind, in your actuality, you will have problems that you have to deal with. And you can either take that as, a gray day, or here is a chance to apply your skills, your habits, your creativity, and solve those problems. And there's a great joy. And you all know this. When you've solved a problem, you see one of your children solve a problem, it's a masterful thing to see. Where they, wow, I know how to do that. So when I think about what it is that we need to do as a community, It is to continue to solve our own problems. Continue to think about what are the resources, the people, the connectivity, the constructs. Some of them may be institutional. Some of the solved problems is, guess what? We need more black judges, okay? Guess what? We need more politicians who actually understand the importance of enabling an entire citizenry to participate in the economy. We need more entrepreneurs. We need more dollars going into the CDFIs and to the venture capitalists and to the private equity firms of funds that are managed by people whose parents have been contributing to these state pension plans for now decades. And we have to have voices in the media that support that in ways that make it sustainable for our community. It comes down to solving the problems for our community by our community. That's how I think about it. And look, it is great when you find allies, and from time to time we get allies in our journey who say, yeah, that's wrong the way they've been treating these folks, let's help them. And from time to time, those allies aren't as strong as they were. But it's important that certain members of our community curate and cultivate those allies to help, because they are often in positions that can enable the acceleration of our community's condition. But that is the nature of how communities work. And it's the nature of us with different interests and diverse viewpoints and different ideology, and in some respects can get us to places that accelerate the overall condition of our people.
You both have talked about curiosity. When we think about beyond that, what are the strategies, what are the partnerships, what are the spaces and places that we need to be in to continue to grow wealth? Besides being here, obviously.
Yeah, look, I think we need to be everywhere, right? I think part of the great magic trick has been to shrink our thinking, right? And create the illusion that we don't have access, all right? There is a reality around access. I'm not saying that there isn't. But you know, there's a Jay-Z and Kanye have a song from the Watch the Throne album. And there's a line in there that says, you're building fences, we're digging tunnels. And that's the way I think about it, right? It's no matter what wall you throw up, I'm gonna find a way around it, right? And that, I think, is the way, right? It's to continuously be, as Robert said, finding those solutions, finding the ways around it, creating the opportunities for yourselves and others around the things that you do have control of, right? Because I think that's the other thing is you know, it's a small pie, so I'm gonna, right? Let's open up the pie. The more of us that actually participate in that pie, the bigger it's gonna get, right? So I think that's how I think about it. Yeah.
To that point, you know, we have an advantage now that we didn't have 20 years ago, which is we are now connected to the world. We have distributed computing power, we have distributed connectivity, we have distributed, in many cases, knowledge of self and knowledge of other in ways that we connect with people all around the planet. I was beautifully, you know, shown today, you know, the floor of the forum. And what was it, Soka? Is that the business? Sokol, right? Kenyan-based fine jewelry designer, 23,000 designers or 2,300?
2,300.
2,300 designers. Beautiful jewelry in Kenya, right? Nairobi. You think about the connectivity that we now have to support businesses all across the planet and to have buyers of our products all across the planet. And we can enable that to happen ourselves, as demonstrated here, leveraging technology. So to a great extent, yeah, we are enough to do this. Where should we be? Everywhere, all the time. And ensuring that we are connected. 200 million people of color, of African descent in North and South America? Well, we need to be more connected than we have been, and to the continent, right? We bring a beautiful joy to this planet that very few other people do consistently. And we need to celebrate that in who we are, what we build, what we create, what we can capture. You know, this whole idea of leveraging technology and now Gen AI, I think can be a wonderful accelerant of our opportunity. We just need to ensure that we continue to put our people in places that can really embrace what these opportunities are. And then, of course, people who then will share them with the rest of our community.
So I want to do a couple of speed questions, okay? What is the thing that you are most happiest about right now?
Being here with Rich.
That was a good answer.
No, I'm serious.
And you say
I
being
love
here
being with Rich. We come up with all kinds of good stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Y'all have no idea what we came up with backstage. But you'll see.
Same answer. Right now, yes, same answer. Because it's and as you talk about, we're saying be everywhere, right? The reality of it is one person can't be everywhere, but when you've got the connectivity to other people that have similar thought patterns and that care about the same things you care about, you can actually be everywhere. And that's what Robert and my relationship enables.
Okay, speed round. Greatest prized possession.
Greatest prized possession. That's interesting.
We're just trying to understand how y'all be rolling. That's
Yeah. You know, if I were to say a possession, it would be Charles White made a beautiful painting of Mahalia Jackson that, as you all know, was the woman who spoke to Martin Luther King before he went on stage and said, I'm not going to give this other speech. I'm going to talk about from my heart. Mahalia said to him, speak from your heart. And from that came the I Have a Dream speech. And Charles White made this painting, gave it to Harry Belafonte, and Harry gave it to me.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what you want me to say. My most favorite prized possession is Robert's Charles White painting. We share it every 6 months.
I'm going to start with you this time.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the one thing that you hope to get that you do not have yet in the next 12 to 24 months?
Wow.
Oh, that's easy.
Wow.
I just want your garage code. That's easy for me. That's easy.
Yeah. Got to figure out.
Thinking of a new
No,
code.
I want to make sure my garage code is safe.
Don't worry, I got this new quantum computer I'm about to put on you.
So I'll tell you, dream.
Okay.
I have this new dream, not new, but relatively new dream, of building a company called Platform, where Black and brown founders don't have to sell their businesses to multinationals and can invest in this platform and build the scaled businesses that they've dreamed of with the infrastructure, the resources, and the tools to compete globally.
I sense that will really happen, so I'm not worried.
Oh, it's gonna happen.
Right, okay.
Yeah. It's happening, but that's the.
I just hope I get to be invited to be an investor.
I thought you already wrote a check backstage.
I did, but that's all right.
One word that describes your legacy.
Gratitude.
Why you always ask him first, and then he comes
I
up with
asked you first.
Oh,
And then
mic drop moment.
Right, but I asked you first, and then you had to think about it, and he came up with the question. I'm trying to help you out
I'm
here.
gonna go with gratitude too. I'm gonna go with gratitude too. Look, you know, That was who? That sounds like Eddie Brown.
No.
Who's that?
Who said?
Who's that saying no? We're not taking comments from the audience, Mr. Brown. I would go with gratitude. So there's a thing that I have in my signature and that I sort of live by, and it says love, luck, faith. So if you could let me have those 3 words, that would be mine.
Okay, I'll let you.
Thank you.
It's his show.
Yeah, hey,
One
security.
or two more. One or two more words. One or two more words. But you had your mic drop moment. Okay. Couple quickies. Stocks or small businesses? Which one should we invest in?
You should invest in yourself. And if you have a small business, you have a small business idea, you should spend your time, energy, effort, money, resources to build your own business. If you don't have an idea for a business, invest in stocks. Okay? But if you've got, hey, you know, there's a niche, there's a business, there's a big opportunity, spend your time, energy, and effort on that.
Africa, America.
Both.
Why and how?
What's the difference? Right? So when I walk into a room, no matter where I am, this is what you see. We have managed, and the vice president of Colombia was on. Give her a hand.
Yeah, for sure.
Give her a hand. All right? We've been conditioned to think of ourselves as separate, and and it's so bad that we've been conditioned to think that black people from Chicago are somehow different from black people in LA, and then we're somehow different from black people in New York, and then we're somehow, right? But what that actually does is that it limits our ability to grow our economic pie. Because I'm focused on people on my block. I don't see myself in Nairobi. I don't see myself in South Africa. I don't see myself in LA. I don't see myself in the Bronx. I see myself on my block. So, but when you put them together, like if you, and I geek out on this stuff, if you did the math, the US economy is the largest economy in the world. The Chinese economy is the second largest economy in the world. If you calculated the black economy globally, which was set, we all started in Africa, right? If you put the black economy globally together, African American, Latin, Africa, we're the largest economy on the planet. But we've somehow been convinced to not think in those terms. And then, as Alfonso was saying earlier, drew all these lines that then broke Africa up into these little pieces, which then makes that a much smaller economy. So we've been broken into pieces to reduce us. If we put those pieces back together, we actually have the largest opportunities. So the fact that that's a real question, Africa or America, is feeding more into this thing of let's be small. Let's put them together. We have the tech. I'm a little older than most of you, but $6 million man, ladies and gentlemen, we have the technology. All right, we can do this. We can actually do this. So let's do it. But the answer is both.
Last question.
What's the $6 million man? I didn't watch that.
Yeah. That's a little bit before
That's a
your
rounding
time,
error
Robert.
for him.
Yeah,
He don't know.
Yeah, nah.
No, I may be in elementary school.
No, I don't even think you were born.
Probably not.
Yeah. But you do run a technology business, right?
I just look it up.
Yeah.
You can chat GPT. What does success mean to you, and what does it look like?
Again, I think that gets back to what we talked about. Well, success to me, it comes down to freedom. Freedom of time, energy, intention, To me, that's no matter at what level. I mean, if you now have the freedom to do the things that excite your heart and give you the ability to provide in ways that you want to provide. And some people, they want to provide for their family. Some people want to provide for a broader community. I think that's what success is.
For me, again, I have to second that, but I think I got a better one. This is what success looks like, right? It's a Friday afternoon. We're here together. We're talking about things that are important to us. We're working on solutions together. We'll go have a great time tonight. We'll go to the convention center and support the people that are in there and the businesses that are in there. We have partners that have invested their treasure to make sure that this happens. That is what success looks like to me, when we can get together and solve our problems and enjoy each other. Actually, really what success looks like is when you come into New Orleans and the entire city is catering to black people. That's success.
Well,
That's a mic drop moment right there.
there you go.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you, Robert. I want to thank you, Rich. I think the three takeaways are that wealth is a mindset, that we're already wealthy, we just don't know it, and that we need to start working together so that our wealth can hit the velocity so we can get where you are and you are. Thank you both.
Well, the problem with that, Melissa, is we're always trying to get further than where we are.
We try
So
to- okay.
y'all got some work to do.
That's good. Thank you.